us.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Hi.
It's
Hi.
Steve.
Hi.
Steve
Barbara
Nice
Canelopoulos.
meeting you.
Hi, nice meeting you.
Take care.
Welcome to our program. We're on the road again with David Vieira, and we're at the Quashnut River Valley. David?
Yeah, today we're here with Steve Hurley from Mass Wildlife to look at the restoration project and actually to do some fish counting. And Steve's been working on this project for a number of years. And so this is part of work that one of our state agencies does. And as the chairman of the House Sportsman's Caucus, this is a very important project for us.
Steve, you're a fisheries biologist. Tell our viewers your official title.
I am the Southeast District Fisheries Manager for the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. So I'm in charge of all the freshwater fisheries here in southeastern Massachusetts.
And some exciting things have been happening. I understand just a few days ago you were very happy about the result of some of your work.
Right, as part of the tagging down here on the Quashnut River, we've had the opportunity to actually restore brook trout populations to some of our local streams. We've transplanted fish to the Childs River, and we've reestablished a population in that river. And last year we moved fish from the Mashpee River into the Coonamessett River, and yesterday was the first attempt at seeing whether they spawned, and we were very happy to see that we captured over 100 young of year fish that were spawned by fish that have been moved in from the Mashpee River. So this reestablished a brook trout population in the Coonamessett River.
Excellent, excellent. So your work has been paying off, which is very important. And today we are going to be watching some very interesting work that as you continue to do that. David, what do you think about this sort of thing? How important is it?
Yeah, so I've actually had the opportunity to come out with Steve and some of his folks over the last couple of years since I got elected as a legislator. And every year we see returning trout, largening in size, and a lot of that is due to efforts of local citizens and volunteers, and later on in the show we'll actually have the opportunity to talk to some of the volunteers that have been helping. So it's a great partnership between Trout Unlimited, a volunteer citizen group that really took the charge in the late 70s to start this project, and now working with specialists from the state to be able to count and really see the success. And hopefully today we'll be able to see some of that as well.
So this is the equipment we're going to use to sample the trout in the Quashnut River today. It's called a backpack electrofisher. It has a 24-volt lithium battery which powers a bunch of electronic circuitry which boosts the voltage up to about 400 volts and puts out a pulse DC current. The electric field is set up between the cathode and the anode, and we have multiple safety switches built in. There's a magnetic reed switch that's a primary on-off. There's a on-off switch on the side, and basically when we depress the switch it tells that there's current going through the water.
Eel then bespeaks the health of the river.
Well, yeah, the eels are actually probably the most common fish species in southeastern Mass, but they were actually proposed for endangered species status because they have declined throughout the Atlantic seaboard.
Oh, I see.
And so this is probably an adult here, a few years old. And what they do is they come up with the Gulf Stream as glass eels, and they migrate up into these rivers, and they transform into the dark eels, and they spend several years in the river and in the pond before they migrate down later on in the fall towards the ocean. The fish that we're studying today, the brook trout, are what are called anadromous, which means they spawn up here in the river and they go down into the salt water at times.
Anadromous.
Anadromous.
As opposed to
this is catadromous. So
catadromous.
this is our only catadromous species. So it lives in fresh water and spawns in salt water. And someday it's one of the great mysteries of fishery science exactly where these guys spawn. Nobody has ever observed it in the wild, but it's thought to be somewhere off Bermuda near the Sargasso Sea. We haven't checked this in about 12 days. So we've had 669 tagged fish go through that antenna. Could be multiple fish going through many times, but there were 669 hits on that antenna. And so the data we get, it's basically the tag number, the fish that went through, and the date and the time. So I'll download this later, bring it back in and analyze the data using a database and a variety of tools to look at patterns of fish movements. It's powered by 2 deep cycle batteries, and before we had the solar panel, we had to carry these 2 batteries every week for each antenna. Right now I have a total of 3 antennas on the Quashnet River, 1 in the Childs, and 3 on Red Brook over in Wareham and Plymouth. Started limited about the initial 3 antennas, and then we were able to...
Well, Steve, thanks very much for
You're welcome.
having us down here on the Quashnet River, and
Glad you could come.
keep up the good work.
I'll try.